recording the computer. All right, quiz 13 study guide. This thing looks like it's pretty short and sweet. You know what I'm saying? So here we go. Number one, multiple choice. Consider the leading term of each polynomial function. What is the end behavior of the graph? All right, that leading term right there is negative 3x to the third. Negative 3x to the third. So you just got to look at the table that's in your notes. And the table that's in your notes said something like if A is negative and N is odd, that's up and down. So up and down. Why is this writing so slow? Up and down. And then in number two. Number two, just make sure when you look at the question tomorrow that the polynomials in standard form, that you're looking at the highest valued exponent. So you got your 5x to the 8th. That was loud. So what's that? Odd and even. Positive and even. Positive and even. That's up and up. Number three. Negative 2x to the fourth. And negative and even, right? So negative and even is down and down. Down and down. Then you've got some simplify the expressions. So this is number one on the short answer. Negative 2 plus 3i. And it's over 5 minus I. So we're going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 5 plus I. Over 5 plus I. And you have to do the distributive property twice here on both of these. So you got the negative 2 times the 5, which is negative 10. You got the negative 2 times the I, which is negative 2i. You've got the 3i times the 5, which is positive 15i. And then you've got the 3i times the positive I, which is positive 3i squared. All of that is going to go over, you got 5 times 5 on the bottom, which is 25. Yeah. The 3i times the 5 is the 15i. Then the 3i times the I is the 3i squared. So the 5 times the 5 is 25, and then the 5 times the I is positive 5i. And then you got negative I times 5, which is negative 5i. And you got negative I times positive I, which is negative I squared. And now you got to start simplifying. So let's see, I'm going to move this over. This numerator becomes negative 10. And then your negative 2i and your positive 15i is positive 13i. And that's plus 3 times I squared, and remember I squared is negative 1, over your positive 5i and your negative 5i, those cancel out, they become a 0. This is 25 minus I squared is negative 1, so it's 25 minus negative 1. And that's keep, change, change. So you got a 26 in the denominator. In this numerator, you got the 3 times negative 1. So this becomes negative 3. When you combine the negative 10 and the negative 3, you get negative 13 plus 13i over 26. Now you can divide, or you can simplify both of these. So this becomes negative 1/2 plus 1/2 I. 13 is half of 26, and 13i over 26 simplifies to 1/2 as well. Bunch of steps, but not very difficult. And then we got number 2 on that short answer. And we got 3 minus 3i in the numerator. And in the denominator, 4i. So we're going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by negative 4i. Yes. Got it? All right, so number 2 here in the numerator, distributive property again. 3 times negative 4i is negative 12i. Negative 3i times negative 4i, that's positive 12i squared. In the denominator, 4i times negative 4i is negative 16. Negative 16i squared. All right, so in the numerator, this I squared becomes right here a negative 1. And down here in the denominator, this I squared is equal to negative 1. So in the numerator, you end up with a negative 12, because 12 times negative 1 is negative 12, minus 12i. And in the denominator, negative 16 times negative 1 is 16. And now you simplify the real part and you simplify the imaginary part. So negative 12/16, 4 goes into both of those. That's negative 3/4. Minus 12/16 is 3/4 again. And you bring along the I. All right, number 3. Classify by degree. That means you're classifying it by its highest power. The highest power in number 3 is the 5. And isn't that quintic? Quintic. And number 4 on that page asks you to classify by the number of terms. All right, there's 4 terms there. So that was a polynomial of 4 terms. Number 5, write it in standard form. So you've got 3x to the third, and it's times negative x squared plus 2x to the third. So negative x. Oh, okay. Thank you. That's 3x squared outside those parentheses. And then negative x squared plus 2x to the third inside. All right, so this is just the distributive property. So 3x, when you guys, when you multiply powers, you add them. All right, so 3x squared times negative x squared, that's going to be negative 3x to the fourth. And then 3x squared times positive 2x to the third, that's going to be positive 6x to the fifth. But since you're writing it in standard form, now you need to just reorder it. All right. So the highest power's got to go first. So this becomes 6x to the fifth minus 3x to the fourth. Correct. When you multiply exponents, you add them. All right, and then 6 and 7. That's where you're finding the solutions. You got a parabola intersecting a line. So number 6. You got y equals, look, if y equals x squared plus 7x plus 10 and y also equals x plus 5, then they equal each other. So you got x squared plus 7x plus 10, and it equals x plus 5. So you can subtract x and you can subtract 5 from each side. And on the left-hand side, you get x squared, you get plus 6x, and you get plus 5 equal to 0. So that is a trinomial that can be factored. And this trinomial is going to factor to x plus 5 times x plus 1. Then your next step was to set each factor equal to 0. 5 times 1 is 5, and 5 plus 1 is 6. So what are your x's going to be? All right, you got x plus 5 that's equal to 0, and you got x plus 1 that's equal to 0. So if we subtract 5 and subtract 5, then we get an x equal to -5. And then do the same thing with the other factor. You get an x equal to -1. Now remember, you had to take each of those x's and substitute them. So one of your equations was y equals x plus 5. And if y is equal to x plus 5, when we put the -5 in, we get a y that's equal to 0 when x is equal to 5. So one of our points of intersection is at -5 and 0. You do the same thing for your other x value. You take y, and you make it equal to -1 plus 5. And so y is equal to 4. So when x is equal to -1, y is equal to 4. So we got a -1 and a 4. Clear? All right, now number 6 or number 7, you're going to do the same way, but I'm not going to do the whole number 7. I want you to look at it though. One of your equations, you got y equals x squared minus 3x minus 1, but your other equation is y plus x equals 2. This isn't in y equals form yet. You have to subtract x from each side here. And in this equation, y is equal to -x plus 2. So that's one of your equations. Your other equation is your x squared minus 3x minus 1. So it's going to be equal to your -x minus or plus 2. Let's see, what is this? Minus 3x, that's supposed to be a 3. This computer is really acting up today. All right, so just be careful on this problem. All right, because now you're going to add x and subtract 2 from each side. So here you get x squared. You get minus 2x. And you get minus 3. And that's equal to 0. And you factor this side. Two numbers that multiply to 3 but add to -2. All right, it's going to be a 3 and a 1. But this 3 is going to be negative and the 1 is going to be positive. Set your factors equal to 0. Solve both of your x's. Substitute. Now be careful when you substitute, or don't be careful. You can use this equation if you want. you can use your y plus your x equals 2. So for x equals 3, you do y plus 3 equals 2. And you subtract 3 from each side. So you get a y equal to -1 when x equals 3. So one of your solutions is 3, -1. And then your other solution, you got your y plus x equals 2. So you're going to do y plus your x over here is -1. Equals 2. So now you add 1 to each side. And you get a y equal to 3. I just like putting it in parentheses because I did it because it was a negative. And so when x equals a -1, y is equal to 3. No, that's not always going to happen. That's just coincidence here. Yeah. 1 second.